Please rise. Oh, yes, this county commission meeting of Sumner County is now open pursuant to adjournment. God bless this country and this honorable commission. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Tonight, the invocation will be given by Commissioner Mark Harrison.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, it's one more time that we bow our unworthy head and call upon your name. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, most of all. We thank you for this nation, for this state, and for this county that we're blessed to live in. We thank you for all that you've blessed us with. We ask you, Father, tonight as we deliberate the business of the people, that we do it in a way that would be pleasing to thee. We ask for your wisdom, for your guidance, for your direction. We ask you to forgive us for our sins and our mistakes. We pray these things in the name of Christ Jesus. Amen.
Remain standing, please, for the pledge to be led by our clerk.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Each commissioner record your presence.
We have 23 present tonight of the 24. I have received word that Commissioner Baker Ring is out of town. The majority vote will remain at 13, and a two-thirds vote will remain at 16. Do I have a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved. Second. I would like to discuss. Sorry. I would like to pull off on the consent agenda. I'd like to pull off item 23-1002 for discussion.
23-1002
Yes.
will be pulled off, and we will put that, Mr. Show, under budget. I would remind the commissioners now that docketing is not a voting matter. That's just
for
formality,
discussion, sir.
but that's all right if it's something that you want to discuss. That will be fine. All in favor, signify.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Go ahead, Commissioner Becker.
Thank you, sir. I would like to add under budget the item that was just passed during our budget meeting, whatever you want to call it, 2310-24, it looks like. I don't think we need to vote. I think it just adds.
23-10-04.
Well, whatever, I don't know what number the next, it looks like 24 is the next one, but it's the item that the budget committee just approved.
That would be 23-10-24, I think, is what.
Okay.
Look at
That's
that
what I
and
meant to
see.
say. I may have said something else. So 2310-24.
That requires a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I know. And that will require, was that a majority or?
I don't think adequate notice has been provided.
So,
I don't think it can be added.
okay. Our
Should just
attorney-
be a simple majority since we haven't approved the agenda yet.
Pardon?
Since we haven't approved the agenda, it should just be a simple majority. If we had already approved the agenda, then it would take
We'll
a
go
16.
by what our attorney says.
Okay, well,
What is your?
What did he say?
This has not met the proper notice requirements. This happened just ended, 15 minutes ago. There's not adequate notice. There's not adequate documentation out there to be
That's fine.
reviewed.
I think we've got a room full of people that were adequately noticed.
I'm merely
So-
advising you what the law
Okay.
says. You've got statute 844-103 and specifically some case law on this, Memphis Publishing versus City of Memphis. So my advice is that it can't be added to the agenda.
Well, thank you for the
but I'm
advice. So
merely giving you
Mr.
advice.
Chairman, is it your, do we
I
need 12 or
heard the
16?
advice, and I'm not going to add it.
No.
Chairman, it's a motion and a second to add that. We need to vote
Yeah,
on
we
it.
need to vote.
No,
Yes,
well,
sir. Mr. Chairman, there was a motion and a second, and per our parliamentary rules, we're to
wait
vote
just
on
a
that.
minute. Be quiet just a moment, please. I want to tell you something out there in the audience. This meeting is not conducted as a lot of the committee meetings. The decorum here will be maintained if I have to empty the entire room. And the sheriff has told me that he has instructed his deputies to remove anyone who speaks out without asking should they do it. We will not have any disruption of this meeting. Now, I have previously said that I am inclined to vote for the 15 million. I certainly am not your individual enemy, but I am not going to have any disruption of this meeting.
If I'm,
Do you think we should vote? All
Mr.
right,
Chairman.
The attorney has given his advice. We will vote on it. If you want to go against the attorney's opinion, then have at it. But the attorney, know that the attorney has given his opinion. All right? Any discussion on this?
so,
Yes, sir.
do we need 13 or 16?
Commissioner Jones?
13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've been, people have come after us several times for breaking public notice statutes. And we cannot start a precedence now just disregarding that because those same people may be on the side of this issue. We've got to hold to some sort of statute. I'm all for taking this vote, but if the attorney has advised that it's not legal to do, this could easily be overturned if we're found to be in violation of public notice statutes. So I would warn against doing that. We've got a meeting set up for next week to rush this through versus having this adjudicated against and have to redo everything. I think it would be smart and prudent just to wait until the scheduled meeting to make that vote.
Commissioner Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With all due respect to the county attorney's opinion, we have witnessed many times in committee meetings where agendas have been unilaterally altered and things added to the agenda. So if that was wrong, then
If this is wrong, then how was that right? That's my question. How have we unilaterally added things to agendas in committee meetings and we can't vote to do it here? That's my question.
Commissioner Becker?
Just want to echo Commissioner Harrison's comments there. We add items to the agenda all the time. And so I'm absolutely in favor. We've got a room full of citizens that have come out. A lot of them were here Friday. And I think it's pretty, anyway, I think it's pretty silly that we would ask them to come back one more time next Monday when they're already here. Let's put it to vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've been in the queue. Can I?
Commissioner Teacher?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the zeal and the passion of the people. We have an amazing county. There's not 200,000 plus here tonight, and that's how many we represent. I mean, I just believe that what is the problem with waiting 1 week for our special call that's already set up? I'm going to be voting against adding it to the agenda on the guidance from our attorney because I don't have a law degree. And I just feel like that the question was asked, sir, what's the difference between this and other times? We've never had an $8.8 million addition to any of our committees on the fly. And so we gave a week notice. I think it's fair for the people who are having $8.8 million of their money, not ours, spent, their money, and all the people who's not here. And so I think it's very prudent and very appropriate to make sure that we are very careful to follow the law and to not add something that's larger than any other item on our entire agenda monetarily. Because if we do that, then why don't we just change the rules and just make it where we come in and add things as we please with a blank paper every single Monday, every third Monday of the month. Thank you.
Commissioner Schoen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I actually am following on this question. So I mean, in the interest of time, I might be for adding this, but I don't want to get us to a couple other points here. Like 1 week shouldn't slow anything up significantly. That said, I don't want to put people out to have them come over again unnecessarily. So I guess my question, Mr. Chairman, would be if you would redirect to the law office, what is the test in, like, specifically, you know, we have added other items to the budget, and is it an amount? What's the test that separates between things which, you know, we've added to the budget in the past, you know, before a meeting versus why we would not want to do this one? I just want to make sure, like, we all understand that.
I will let the attorney speak to that. He did approach me about it, and that's why I called a special meeting for next week, and I think it has to do with case law and other laws that relate to items that are sensitive and of public interest and that might be controversial, having adequate time for notification, but I'll let the lawyer speak to his opinion on that.
Yes, Commissioner. Case law says that there's got to be adequate and sufficient notice here, and this just passed. No one that may want to show up now that it's been passed, because the outcome of that meeting an hour ago wasn't even known. So it hasn't had time to disseminate to anybody that may want to show up and discuss or make public comment as to that point of it. Again, I've already pointed out the case and the statute. And if we even go back to the standing rules and procedures for the county, it says resolutions received after the monthly deadline, which was long before today, will be placed on the next month's agenda in the event of an emergency, which I do not think this constitutes an emergency. The committee can allow a matter to be placed on the agenda by a 2/3 majority vote. And that's just going off your rules and procedures. But I'm trying to navigate the commission outside of potential lawsuits, and this is ripe for one if, depending on which side of the fence you're on and which way this goes.
And for everyone's information, in case you haven't seen it posted already, when the lawyer approached me about this, I called a special meeting for next Monday evening at 6 o'clock for that one single issue on his advice. Commissioner Pomeroy?
Yeah, and I'm going to try really hard not to be rude or disrespectful here. But I myself have personally added stuff back to this agenda that I've nominated, budget matters that were not on, and they have been voted. I believe our newest rule states that we can do that with a simple majority. I've been up here for 18 months, I think now with you guys. We sure haven't been scared of lawsuits before. We've had, I'm addressing the chair. We've had previous attorneys warn us before our current one that if we were taking these actions, that would bring a lawsuit. We didn't seem to be as concerned then. If emergency is what we're doing, I would say the fact that we actually had bleachers fall in the middle of the night is emergent, that we don't have safe facilities. I look around at the people that are here. We're supposed to serve them. I've heard that a lot over my time here. I think they've been very loud that they would like us to serve them tonight. And I've made that other counter argument that just because someone's here doesn't mean we represent the entire county. And that's one of those things that, depending on what side you sit on, that seems to work. But when the majority's the other way, you want to uphold and respect. I've seen people given longer time to speak at citizens' comments. We sat here one night and allowed someone to speak on citizens' comments that I addressed the chair in the middle of and said, this is not even on our budget. On our agenda. And it was replied back to me, well, there is some new information about greenways. And I said, okay, can you show me where that is in our agenda tonight? Because our rule states that we don't speak on anything that's not on the agenda. And I was basically told, well, that's only a rule when we want to enforce it. So I'm really, really confused because we have added stuff almost every single month. I'd like to add this to the agenda. I'd like to make a change. And then all of a sudden we have a lawsuit when we have hundreds of people here who want to hear what their elected representatives have to say about where their taxpayer dollars go, which has been a theme of my fellow commissioners. We need to be the commission that is transparent. We need to be the commission that likes to handle our business in the light for everybody to see. I don't think scheduling meetings at 4 o'clock that concern football games, knowing that every team in the county but one's on the road is trying to be transparent. I don't think that's trying to be in the light. I also think that's really trying to turn the lights as dark as you possibly can. So the people are here. The people want to know what we feel about this. I do believe that the motion that was passed in budget is illegal. I think there's law that can support that. So I will be voting to get this thing on the agenda tonight so the people can be served the way we all say we want to. Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate the advice of our law director. I did a little bit of research on my own, and granted, I don't have a law degree, but I was able to read the TCA code, TCA 8-44-112, and it's simply the Open Meetings Act. And I believe that's the case law that's probably the backing for, or for the case law that the county attorney is citing. But we'll just read this as local legislative bodies, i.e. the county legislative body, are required to make their meetings agendas accessible to the public at least 48 hours prior to the meetings. Posting the agendas on the local government's website satisfies requirements. But it goes on to say, local government legislative bodies are authorized to consider matters not on the posted agenda as long as the bodies follow their bylaws or their properly adopted rules and procedures and comply with all other applicable state laws. Now, our rules simply state that agenda items may be added, deleted, reordered, rearranged, or amended prior to the approval of the agenda if such changes are approved by the majority vote of the commission. It seems like we're going to be okay on this one. I appreciate my fellow commissioners' comments about, we've had opinions from our law director in the past that we have chosen not to follow. With strong suggestion that, guys, you're walking into a lawsuit, or this is going to be challenged, and we move right ahead. Also, too, I think, Mr. Hyde, I'll take one of your words that is typically spoken at every meeting. I think we all know how we're going to vote on this tonight. We just need to vote. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Brown.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. We live in a republic without any fear of intimidation. We're not ruled by mobocracy. We have people that represent us. And as Commissioner Teachner pointed out, we have over 200,000 in this county alone. I don't know what the capacity of this room is right here, but I know that it is not 200,000. They're not going to get the representation that they deserve. Now, yes, I had an education meeting at 4 o'clock. I paid for 2 months ago for this conference down in Chattanooga. And I did the education committee meeting as quickly as I could with the proper public notice that I could. Now, if that's unfair, then I'm sorry. But I think that we deserve to give everybody public notice as far as that's concerned. And I think that your decision on calling another special call commission meeting is the right way we should go. Thank you.
Commissioner Janung.
Thank you, Chairman Hyde. In regards to putting this on the agenda, I did my own fact-finding, and I did a lot of touring on my own by myself. I've talked to a lot of the parents and people that are in our county about this whole subject matter, and I told them that there was a special called meeting on that next Monday night, and they could come. Now, they're not all here because they thought it was next week, and that's a disservice to them, just like I feel that this is a rush through, almost as a, I won't say that, but I feel like the people that are out there that would like to have come, that were told that there was a meeting on next Monday night, are now going to be disserviced because you want to rush this through, I guess, is a good way to say it. I know all these people are here, and I appreciate them coming because they're supporting what they want, and that's a wonderful thing. But there's also other people out there that do want to know what's going on, and I don't feel it's right to, A, not give them notice, and B, disservice all the other people out in the county that probably would like to know about it, because I'm sure it'll be on Facebook, it'll be in the paper, it'll be everywhere about what's happened. I get it, but I think these people probably have neighbors that might want to come, or they may know other people that want to come. But to rush it through and not do our next Monday night meeting is unfair to other people in the county. And that's how I feel about it. I know the people I've talked to are very interested, and that's what I told them. And so if we don't have it, I'm pretty much a liar. So I just wanted to tell you how I feel about it.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just tell you this, I understand where you're all coming from, but I also had residents, citizens in my district ask me how this was going to play out. And in all honesty, I'm not going to vote to have this on the agenda tonight because I gave them the steps it was going to take. It was going to go through the Education Committee, it was going to go through the Budget and full commission. And when I said full commission, I specified that it would be a special called meeting. At first, I said 7 o'clock, and I corrected that to another person that I texted that it was in fact 6 o'clock. I've told a lot of people the steps that this is going to take. A lot of them, probably, well, I know some of them just stayed home and are not really paying attention because they know there's another bite at the apple, and that's October 30th at 6 p.m. So just for the record, that's why I'm not going to support adding this to the agenda tonight, because there are people out there that do have plans to, in fact, come here on October 30th. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert.
Call to question, please.
Question's been called. And seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. No. Unless we are asked to divide the House, I think the yeas have it. So we're through with discussion on that, and we're back to the motion. Would you, who was the maker of the motion? Would you restate that, Commissioner Becker?
I guess so. I think it's item number 2310-24 under Budget Committee would be to vote on the resolution that was passed through budget earlier tonight. However you want to. I think there was 3 steps. Maybe the budget chairman can read what the 3 items were, but I don't know if that's enough for right now or not, but.
Okay, we just need to, I just need a rephrasing of the motion. And so that, I'll ask that be placed on the board.
Mr. Chairman, would it be 2/3 or 70%?
It'll be a 2/3 vote to place it on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this the rules? I'm sorry.
Okay, the attorney has said that it would be a majority. So if you will, Madam Clerk, place that on the agenda. All right, this item will be placed on a special call meeting of the County Commission next Monday night at 6 o'clock. And as a result, there'll be no discussion per our rules of it tonight. Let's take a 5-minute recess. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. Motion and a second has been made for the approval of the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Approval of the consent agenda, and of course 2310-02 has been pulled. All in favor signify. Motion was by Commissioner Harrison, second by Commissioner Harris. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Approval of minutes for September 18th. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Recognition of the public. I would remind everyone that only items that are on the agenda will be spoken to. Okay. Emily Goddard, is this the issue of the stadium? All right. Jay Ingram was the stadium. Charles Haygood was the stadium. Let's see. Ms. Allmiller was at the stadium? Okay. You may come forward. If you will, state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Charlene Allmiller at 143 Rulin Circle, Hendersonville, Tennessee 37075. And I would like to speak about two items. First, Resolution 2310-18 for the Sheriff's Department salary adjustments. I noticed during the Budget Committee that it was discussed that the sheriff had requested an additional $150,000 so that employees that were not scheduled to get an increase in pay from the ad hoc study committee, salary study committee, could have their pay increased, and I'd like to discuss that item right now. I do want to thank Mr. Line, Commissioner Boyd, and Chief Deputy Craddock for their great work in getting all the data and going through it. I know that especially for Chief Deputy Craddock, where accounting isn't his normal forte, that was probably like eyes crossed right there. But even during those meetings, it was discussed that the data was not complete. It could never be complete. And so I would like to mention some things just as an outside observer that may need to be considered. And then once this agenda item comes up, I hope that you guys will ask the sheriff what his thoughts are on it, because he's the elected official that needs to run the sheriff's office. So for clerical staff, I just have a question of, does anyone know if the clerical staff process paperwork for inmates and detainees that could be considered critical to maintain their constitutional rights? And if so, and if there is turnover in that department or fewer staff than necessary and the paperwork isn't processed properly, could a case get dismissed from such lack of proper paperwork? High turnover in this department could have significantly more impact than if it were turnover in the clerk's office here. As the commission chairman pointed out during the budget committee meetings last May, when discussing whether to increase the pay of the county attorney after working just a couple months and already starting at the higher salary, he had said that if we don't pay them evenly, then he may not feel valued. Well, that's probably what's going to happen here for the support staff that our sheriffs and deputies rely upon, our sheriff's office employees rely upon. Similarly with maintenance, one of the concerns that was raised was that the maintenance personnel aren't, that they're paid more at the jail than elsewhere in the county. And I have to ask you, if you went to go apply for a job and the salaries were the same for working in this building versus working in the jail, where would you want to work? You would always pick this place. You would never pick the jail. There needs to be a premium for that in order to attract and retain maintenance staff. And if you don't have somebody to maintain the jail cells, you're going to have to outsource that. So one of the factors that I think needs to be considered when you're determining whether this $150,000 is prudent to be paid is if you lose employees because they go someplace else, because there is a labor shortage nationwide for maintenance and mechanics, then how much will it cost for you to pay for other people to do it? Because we can't just have patrol cars that don't run. You're going to have to pay a mechanic outside of the employees to fix them. And I'm sure that that's going to cost a lot of money. it will probably amount to more than $150,000 per year. And only the Lord knows how much it would cost if a detainee got released because of a constitutional error. So I would hope that you will ask the sheriff what his thoughts are and then consider updating the budget amendment for that for $150,000 to increase it. The other item I'd like to discuss is Resolution 2310-13, a request for the legislative delegation to request an AG opinion. There are two parts to this, requesting the AG opinion as to whether the Resource Authority of Sumner County is a public or private entity per the private act that created it. The very first 3 words in there say it's a governmental entity. I'm pretty sure they're aware that they're a governmental body. So I think it would be an embarrassment for Sumner County and whichever legislator would make the request to make such a request to ask if it's a private or a public entity, since it's right there in the public act or in the private act. But as for the other thing, as to if the AG can provide his opinion as to what authority and oversight that the commission has over the Resource Authority. I've read the private act, and it seems pretty clear that the Resource Authority's board of directors make the decisions based on a majority, and the commission can appoint 3 of those 7 members. Now, so to me, that seems pretty clear, but I would encourage you that if you're going to do a resolution like this, that you would just look at it a little bit more detailed and be a little bit more specific about the request. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Fennell, I don't see her. Ruth, okay. Is this something on the agenda, Ruth? Yes. Okay.
Name's Ruth Fennell. My address is 1049 Blue Jay Way in Gallatin, Tennessee. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to thank the commissioners, all of them, for the jobs that they're doing so far in balancing budgets over inherited problems. So whether you're looking at transferring money for the sheriff's office, election commission, education, any of those things, it's a challenge to weigh public interest versus what we have available and deal with peer pressure, threats of lawsuits, all of those kinds of things. So just know that we're appreciative of the challenges that you have to deal with. And we also want you to know that by following due process, you're doing the right things. So people need to have notice. They need to make sure that they can be here if they want to have a comment or say something. And I appreciate everybody trying to make sure that we're doing a good job for the citizens of Sumner County. So thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, we have a report of the chair. Your veteran service report is attached to your agenda. And we have a couple of certificates of recognition tonight. The mayor would like to speak to the proclamation declaring November Family Court Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The individuals that asked for this, that deal with the family court and the children, were unable to be here tonight, but they asked me that I read this to the body, and I'm going to just read it as it's written. Mayor Isbell, commissioners, and citizens of Sumner County, thank you for proclaiming November as Family Court Awareness Month. You are joining advocates all across Tennessee. We appreciate the county's support in bringing the needed awareness of the urgent need for a family court system that prioritizes child safety and recognizing that a conservative estimate shows that 58,000 children are annually placed in the care and custody of abusive parents. A stark fact is abusive parents are more likely to seek sole custody than nonviolent ones, and they are successful about 70% of the time, which correlates with the most recently completed Tennessee Child Fatality Report, where 74 children died by homicide, 43% in their own home. The implications of this are huge and largely preventable. The persistence of this issue and number of incidents reported to the judiciary system necessitates the need for continued awareness. Additionally, most would be shocked to know that in Tennessee there are no standards or requirements for family court judges or court professionals to receive continuing education or training on domestic violence, childhood trauma, or abuse, however allowed to make rulings that have a significant impact on children's lives. Currently, the only profession in Tennessee, per the State of Tennessee Human Resources Department, is your hairdresser, and that is 1 hour per year. The goal of Family Court Awareness Month is to shine a spotlight on the need for education and training for those ruling on cases with safety concerns. Our children's lives are dependent on it. Thank you for your time, and I ask that you join in the advocacy efforts that best protect Tennessee children. And I will certainly entertain a motion on this.
Commissioner Becker, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, thank you. Before we do the next proclamation, I'd like to give a little bit of history, and I'm certainly old enough to do a little bit of history. One of my favorite people in the sheriff's office happens to be Captain Hurst, who is over the SRO program, and I'll let him introduce others later. But he well knows that when we began this program many years ago, we had 2 SRO officers that were not a part of the county. We had one at Hendersonville that was under the city police department, and we had one at Gallatin High School that was under the city of Gallatin. Unfortunately, things were done a little differently at each place, which was not always good. One school followed with their SRO one policy, one the other. When I became the school director, I knew that that would not work as this department grew. It would be really out of control. And we did something that you would have thought turned the world upside down, and that was to get rid of those 2 officers and change that to a countywide system under the sheriff's office. And that really didn't bother me. I'm used to doing things that kind of turn things upside down, but in any event, thus we created the countywide SRO program. And Danny, who is a very fine person, worked with us in developing this and really laid the foundation of that program. So Danny, if you'd come forward at this time, and I'll ask the Commissioner Rogers and the sheriff and everyone associated with SRO, if you're an SRO officer, and Chief Craddock.
On the other side of the microphone telling them where to go on the street, so it's pretty cool to be standing here with them today. But as Mr. Hyde said, this department's came a long way. A long way. A long way. I was there at the Sheriff's Department in the 90s. We always like to call it the roaring 90s, and now you look at it, it's came a long way. So it's my privilege to be able to stand here tonight and recognize the deputies of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office SRO program at a national level, of which they received, I believe it was in July. They received the National Merit for the National School Resource Officers as a modeling agency. They have other agencies that want to come here to Sumner County to learn how to do their job. That speaks volumes for this division at this department. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll read this certificate of recognition. It says Sumner County Sheriff's Office, SRO Division, Sumner County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session, 23rd day of October 2023. Does hereby honor and congratulate the Sheriff's Office SRO Division for being recognized by the National Association of School Resource Officers at a model agency. With that, I so move.
Who is second? Commissioner Teachner and Commissioner Rogers made the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
All right.
I had no idea I was going to say anything tonight, so I'm going to ramble as usual. But I can tell you that we didn't do it by ourselves. Is it what wasn't for the Sumner County school system being a partner with us, we couldn't have done anything. And as Mr. Hyde talked to, he was the force driving behind us. Without the director of schools and without the sheriff of Sumner County to have faith in us and let us, I always talk about, think outside the box. We always seen things that we could do better. You know, we knew what the basis was for an SRO program. We go 40 hours every year to make sure we're updated on that, but we wanted to go farther and above that, and we did. These guys did. And I feel guilty even standing up here because these guys are doing it now, and they're doing an awesome job. So, Mr. Hyde, Commission, thank you very much.
I know the sheriff has a couple of words he'd like to say.
I'll be very brief. I would just like to say that this division is almost the backbone of the sheriff's office. If we need something, we contact them that's outside of the normal. They're always willing to come in on their time off. We got, like I said, a great group of people that do whatever it needs to be done in Sumner County. And I'd just like to personally thank y'all for the job that you do. Thank you.
The clerk will read a public notice at this time.
The Sumner County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing on October 23rd, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. in the Bethel Brown Commission Chambers of the Sumner County Administration Building, located at 355 North Belvedere Drive, Gallatin, Tennessee. Will Rowe rezoning, Joshua Coster, RDP Real Estate Holding Company, LLC, 4th Commission Voting District, Dillon Lamberth. Applicant is seeking a rezoning from rural residential to light industrial. Subject property is located at 1155 Old Highway 109 North, Gallatin, Tennessee 37066, is tax map 104, parcel 093.01 and 061.01, contains 8.37 acres and is zoned rural residential. The Sumner County Regional Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation related to this item on August 15th, 2023. A copy of this notice is on file at the Sumner County Development Services Department in the Sumner County Administration Building, located at 355 North Belvedere Drive, Gallatin, Tennessee. Anyone having any interest or desiring to ask questions concerning this request is invited to attend this meeting or call 615-451-6097. Persons wishing to speak on agenda items shall sign up for public comment on the sheet provided at the meeting immediately prior to the commencement of the meeting.
Is there anyone choosing to speak to this on the commission or in the audience? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. I thought we had a motion. Did we not? Okay. All right. All right, motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Brown, and we have voted, okay? Approve rezoning request for property located at 1155 Old Highway 109 North. Anyone want to speak to that? Any questions? All in favor, motion? All right, motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. I think I have a great desire to get done and go home, but I apologize. Public notice, Madam Clerk.
The Sumner County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing on October 23rd, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. in the Bethel Brown Commission Chambers of the Sumner County Administration Building, located at 355 North Belvedere Drive, Gallatin, Tennessee. North Palmer's Chapel Road, assignment of the county zoning to de-annexed parcel, Emery and Jessica Hernman and Andrew and Audrey Finney, 14th and 15th Commission Voting District, Jamie Teachner and J. West Wynn. Sumner County is recommending a zoning classification of rural residential to subject property due to de-annexation from the city of White House, Tennessee. Request is being made pursuant to Chapter 17, Section 1705 of the Sumner County Zoning Resolution. Subject property is located at North Palmer's Chapel Road, White House, Tennessee, 37188. It is tax map 077, PO parcels 099.00, 100.04, and 100.05, and contains 4.6 acres. Property was formally de-annexed from the City of White House June 15, 2023. The Sumner County Regional Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation related to this item on August 15, 2023. A copy of this notice is on file at the Sumner County Development Services Department in the Sumner County Administration Building, located at 355 North Belvedere Drive, Gallatin, Tennessee. Anyone having any interest or desiring to ask questions concerning this request is invited to attend this meeting or call 615-451-6097. Persons wishing to speak on agenda items shall sign up for public comment on the sheet provided at the meeting immediately prior to the commencement of the meeting.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Wynn and second by Commissioner Brown. Anyone want to speak to this? All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Whoa.
It's okay. I was just going to say one thing.
Go ahead and say it.
I'm really close friends with the Finneys, and so I'll be abstaining from that. So if anyone has a question, it may be in the best interest just to reach out directly to the Finneys so that I don't do anything that would be inappropriate.
Thank you. Approving county zoning classification of property located along North Palmer Chapel Road and White House. Do I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Wink. We did. Yes, we did. This is, well, we have two on our agenda here. One is approving county zoning classification to that property.
I'll motion the second one.
Let's just not take any chance. Okay, is second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, I got double dipped, so we're for sure there. All right, report of county officials, that's attached to your agenda. Notaries election, I'll ask the clerk to place that on the board.
Each commissioner record your vote.
Do we have have a motion to approve? Commissioner Sullivan and Commissioner Holmes. Becker, all right. All in favor, say aye. All right, and we got affirmed that with the vote on the board. All right, report of standing committees. Health and Emergency Services. Thank you. Education.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I recommend move to group and approve the two that are there.
All right, motion and a second by Commissioner Becker. Any discussion? Commissioner Teishner.
Mr. Hyde, I wanted to make a motion that we turn off that microphone. It's feeding back. Just that main one. They're just like y'all don't hear it.
You mean here?
Everything's something's just loud and squealy, and it's not the Razorbacks.
I don't know. Okay.
Sorry.
We will look for that microphone, okay? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, was there one other item on there? General Operations Committee?
No report, Mr.
Highway Committee?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Committee on Committees?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Committee recommends Music City Regional Airport Committee, Jim Glover for a 4-year term. I so move.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
Conduct and Ethics Committee, 1-year term. Move to group and approve.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
No.
All right, if there's a request to divide the house, I think the yeas have it, but if you want to divide the house, we will. Okay, you do? Okay. If you'll place that on the board. That's 2. 23, well, it's this one right here. Conduct and Ethics Committee.
Each commissioner reports your vote.
All right, I think that vote is 16 to 7. And the yeas have it. All right, is that all of your report?
Committee on Committees, now next for legislative, Mr. Chairman.
All right, go ahead with the legislative.
2310-11, establish new procedures to review grants. I so move.
Motion and a second. Commissioner Schoaf.
I just have, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one amendment here, and that is, just because I don't know that it's necessary, I would just like to strike the first paragraph and start with, whereas the county commission wishes to address.
Do I hear a second? Second. All right, second by Commissioner Harrison, I believe it was. Any discussion? Commissioner Wynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll ask the same question I did last month when this came up. Where was this socialized? So who all had input in this as far as from department heads who request grants?
Respond.
The department heads that expressed interest reached out and addressed their concerns. And so that's all I have to say.
All right. How many grant writers do we have in the county?
I have no idea.
Isn't it one?
Well, we have one grant writer, but there may be people who write grants for other departments.
Gotcha. Okay. I just feel like this resolution is really not necessary, and it almost feels like it's just targeting one person. And so I'm not going to support it.
All right. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In Sumner County, we have a decentralized system of grant writing. There is not one grant writer. When you go to the Sheriff's Department, they will have their grant writer. At the county, we have a grant writer. You go to Recovery Court, they're going to have a grant writer, and so forth and so on. There are several, I believe, probably 4 to 5 grant writers in Sumner County. I do not have an exact total, but there is not one grant writer. So I think in my opinion, we need to pull back on this. I think, for one, that it's moving into the day-to-day operations of the county business. The county commission has the opportunity to review every one of these grants when they come before you for approval. When you have grants such as CBDG grants, other grants of that nature where it requires a county resolution, those come to you. But the reality is that a lot of these grants come to us and we don't have time to be able to submit them on the front end to the commission. Now, one thing that I have done, I have committed to the commission to try to share everything that we get when we get it. But once we start hamstringing some of these and saying that we have to have your approval before we apply for it, I think that's going to put us at a significant competitive disadvantage when we're dealing with other counties trying to get grant money for the citizens of Sumner County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've got to remember that we would need to be speaking at this time to the amendment. Okay, would you restate your amendment, Commissioner Schoaf, and not the main motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It is simply to strike the first paragraph. Just reviewing this, I don't know that that's necessary for the function of it.
All right, with that motion, the second's been made. First is what he said.
What I'm striking is, whereas there have been significant failures, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. All right, so we're speaking on just for those that are in, just on this amendment. Commissioner Harrison?
Mine's on the main motion, once this is.
Commissioner Pomeroy?
Yeah, mine's on Commissioner Schoaf's amendment, so I'm good there. Again, when we pass these things, when we do this, and we worry about so much, but there have been significant failures regarding submission of grant application details. Who were these failures made aware to? Who reported these? Where the documentation? Who got a write-up for a failure? When did we discuss something in this chamber that there was a major failure? I agree with Commissioner Schoaf. This is yet again, if you want to change the system, change it. Maybe we can refrain from trying to do underhanded personal attacks.
Okay. Commissioner Teishner, is this the amendment?
It's on the main motion, sir.
Main motion. All right. Seeing no one else in the queue, all in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
No.
I think the ayes have it unless there's a request to divide the House.
Divide the House, sir.
Okay. All right. Place that on the board, if you will.
Each commissioner record your vote.
All right. 17 to 6, the ayes did have it. Now we're on the main motion. Commissioner Harrison.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to move to refer this back to committee based on the statements made by the county mayor concerning the multiple grant writers that are in multiple departments. This particular resolution is written to address a Sumner County grant writer, so I'm going to move to refer this back to legislative.
All right, motion by Commissioner Harrison, second by Commissioner Pomeroy to refer this back to committee. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to remain in queue just for a brief comment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Since I made the motion, I would also be interested in hearing from the various department heads, the sheriff, maybe even Judge Blanton, as to what kind of ramifications this might have if passed on grants, because we do rely, even though some don't like grants, but we do rely on that for a significant amount of funding for these various programs. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Teishner.
Mr. Chairman, you'll be pleased to know I have your answers. I just want to say that regarding the worry and the concern from the mayor and then Commissioner Harrison, we in the legislative committee meeting, it was addressed that several have reached out, and Judge Blanton had an issue with it last month. We'd spoken with him, and he said that everything would be fine with the wording of this. And the one reason for that is because if you go down to the be it further resolved that any grant applied for without going through the prior review process shall not be considered for approval by the county commission. So that sounds like it's all no good, excepting for good cause shown beyond the control of the grant writer. And the reason why it says grant writer is because multiple departments aren't normally working together on this, just specific, if there's a moment that comes up where there's someone. That's why it's not got the plural possession.
And let me say, there's no one else in the queue as a matter of further, well, I take that back. County Mayor, did you want to speak?
Yeah, as this goes forward, I would like a definition of good cause, please.
Go ahead. Commissioner Teach.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In the legislative committee minutes, you'll see that good cause was defined when we spoke with our attorney as it was proposed by the county mayor that sometimes there's moments when there's not many days, and so there's not enough time for adequate notice. And that's the good cause, and that was reflected in the minutes. You'll see historically that the good cause was just the fact that if there's not time for adequate notice, then just do everything we can to push forward. But in those moments, go ahead. But the reason for this is just because we want to make sure that we're really caring about the taxpayers' money. I didn't write this resolution, but I support it because I believe that we need to be careful about how we spend money and time as government employees. And so it doesn't matter who it is. It's not, to me, it does not point to one person. I believe it even points to everyone who is being paid by taxpayers. We need to make sure that we're very careful to always be on task and chasing the correct rabbits, as you'd say. Thank you, sir.
And let me say, before I visit the queue again, we have 3 in. Please understand that this was not generated by anyone with any ill will toward any department. I always take credit for anything that I do, and I had approached the chairman of the legislative about the idea of a proposal to somehow put guardrails around the grant writing, because we had visited in committee on an issue that was thrown at us at the last minute that was really had an impact on county finances in a couple of different ways. But this was not meant to be mean toward any department, any official, or anything of the sort. It was just to try to make it more smooth. Commissioner Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to amend to include the definition of, was it good cause? Is that the term in there? just so that it's on the record in the resolution, and actually have that defined in this resolution as to what would be considered good cause.
That you would like for the attorney to define?
I would like to put it into the resolution, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you willing to have that done by him
Yes, sir.
without seeing it tonight?
I think so. I think if it was discussed in committee, we can just use that, but I'd like to have that language in here. I don't see it in here.
All right, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Wait just.
Are we amending the motion to refer back
That-
to legislative? Because that's the motion second.
No, I think that was your main, oh, wait a minute, that was
No.
your amendment, so we need to vote on that. Do we have anything else on Commissioner Harrison's? Of course, this is the second. Commissioner Harrison, this is the second.
I withdraw my second, because I'm not sure how I vote on this.
You withdraw the second to what?
Just do Commissioner Wins.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Deferral, yeah.
Well, if you all will agree, we will, Commissioner Jones, can we go ahead and vote on this other amendment? Okay. All right. If you place that on the board, because I know it'll end up there anyway. Commissioner Harrison's amendment. Yeah.
Each commissioner records your vote.
That fails 14 to 9, so we're back for any other discussion.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman, I'd like to
Pomeroy.
make my amendment now.
All right, go ahead. if you-
Yes.
All
All
right.
right, so I'd like to make the amendment to add the language as to, I know it says in the law director deems review necessary questions, yada, yada. Just have that definition put in here so we know, and that way it's, all questions are answered, it's in the document.
The attorney would like to respond. We have a motion and a second, but he would like to respond.
As it's written out, it says beyond the control of the grant writer. I don't know that I can give you a definition that's fact specific to every possible thing that could happen. And I say would put it on the grant writer to give us some documentation as to why it was beyond their control at the time of submittal. So if you want something deeper than that, that's what I need to know.
I think what he's saying is we'd just like to have an explanation each time, which
Okay.
sounds fair to me.
Yeah, I just don't want to get into ambiguous, it may be extenuating circumstances that someone just is in disagreement with.
All right, there's
You
a
know.
motion and a second. Anyone in the queue now want to speak to that? Commissioner Schoaf or Commissioner Jones? If not, we'll vote on this. And all right, so Commissioner Jones, you're okay with it? All right, place that on the board, Madam Clerk.
Hang on, he's gonna,
To clear this up.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it may actually be more, it may be simpler to make this, if Commissioner Wynn would consider it, given that I think that the county attorney has stated that it would be difficult to draft any additional language. Maybe something simple we could do was just change the shall to may. Because I think what we're trying to get at here is to not make this, the intent of this per you, Mr. Chairman, and per the legislative chairman is to give this body sufficient time to review grants. And we also recognize that the grant writers in the departments throughout the county themselves don't have sufficient time to review and press forward grants. Otherwise, they'd miss out on the opportunity, which striking that balance is hard. And I don't want to, we want as much time as we can to review this, but we also don't want to make it overly burdensome on on the grant writer. So I would just submit, and maybe if Mr. Wynn would consider this, just change the shall to may, and that might make things a little simpler.
All right. This is the second amendment, which can be on the floor and worked. Is there a second to this?
I'll accept that.
You will accept it?
Yeah.
As a part of your motion?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that works. I mean,
All right. Okay, and Commissioner Jones?
On Maine.
Main motion? Commissioner Palmer?
It could go to either. I just want to make sure I'm clear. So I'm reading this. It means that before we even apply for a grant, we vote for them to be able to apply for a grant?
Well,
It says after then they would have that next month, they would be able to start applying. Is that not what it said in the second paragraph?
I think that my intention of this anyway was to receive notice of what is out there working for budget purposes, because you don't want in the middle of a budget cycle where the budget's already set to have applied for a grant and not have any notice of it, and then have something come in to where you have to match so much money to get the grant. So,
Right, but at that time, we would just vote, like, if that's what we didn't want to do, we would vote. But if I read this wrong, I thought the whereas was at that time, after they requested if they could, then if we said yes, they could then go apply. Is that not what that middle,
is
Mr. Lee?
that the way you understand it, Commissioner
Show
Mansfield?
for somebody?
Based on what
Yeah.
asked about, yes.
So that,
We want to know that, hey, we're applying. for
so
this
once we
grant
say yes, now, after this, we will say yes to grants in a
to
committee
apply for it, yeah,
to give them permission to apply for a grant.
yes.
And we are the smaller government party. Okay, but if we don't do that, we still get to vote yes or no to a grant. Okay.
You would, yeah.
Okay. I just make sure I can't vote for it at all anyway. I don't understand why, if we have people and a county mayor and a sheriff and who they're out there looking for grants, now they've got to stop and say, this grant might be good. We got to get this on the agenda to get in front of a committee so a committee can vote to say, yes, you can start the application process. Even though there's already a checks and balance that if they go and apply for that, they bring it to us and we can either vote yes or no to accept a match or no match. I feel like this county's benefited greatly since I've been here over grants. I feel like good use of grants have saved this county. And I know a lot of people in this room talk a lot about taxes and saving money. I assure you, a ton of services that you use from this county and things that you enjoy are the benefactor of grants that were written. And we wouldn't be able to pay for them with the tax rate that we currently have right now. So to make that, we are the final say if we vote on a project that's come to do with a grant. This is just adding a layer. And with all due respect, if this wasn't about certain individual, granted we struck it, but the original thing was said with significant failures. And I asked a question, what significant failures were brought up and how many significant failures? I didn't get an answer. So when we talk about what we saw here earlier tonight with can we add, can we not add, send these people home, send them back, meetings, when's this going to be? This is just adding another layer of a vote when we still get to vote to decide if we want to take a grant or not. Unless we're wanting to tell Mayor Isabel, please do not have your grant writer or whoever in your office sees a grant, look at that and entertain that until you can get that on a committee agenda to get passed for the permission to even try to get that for our county. I think we're going to be enacting this whereas it was against our control, and then we're all going to be fighting again everything else. Sometimes we go looking for fights. I think President Reagan made that very clear when he was talking about how we can't govern to the off time, the minority, when something goes wrong, can't change all the laws. I'm assuming one time a grant went bad, but you're talking about changing an entire and cumbersome process on something that's worked really, really good for the county. I hope my fellow commissioners hear that and believe that, because this, y'all think we're here a long time now, this is going to be a nightmare that we can say that. Thank you.
Commissioner Janone.
Chairman Hyde, I was thinking about this, and I actually actually have been involved in grant writing from other things and looking at what may be coming down the pike as well with opioid abatement committee. Would it be, and I'm not sure how to address this, would it be appropriate to put someone, because some grants are $500, sometimes they're $1 million, sometimes they're, $1,000 for something. Would it be appropriate to add a monetary amount that if you go past this amount, you need to notify? That gives you a guardrail in the form of monetary, because that's been the skittishness of this, is the fact that they drop this, maybe you have to match it with $1 million. Well, that's a big deal. But if it's a small amount, say $20,000 or $1,000, which is a lot to me, would it be appropriate to have a guardrail in there that if you go over this amount, perhaps you need to let the committee know and not just a blanket statement? I'm not sure how to address that, sir.
That's a good idea, Commissioner Janung. I have a feeling that in many of these grants, without knowing firsthand, that there may not be an amount determined when they start giving out money to people, but that's a good point. Commissioner Scho?
I'm just responding to Commissioner Pomeroy's commentary here. Like, I get that we're trying to not, there's a balance to be struck here. On the one hand, yes, you don't want to add overly cumbersome layers, but on the other hand, we don't want to having insufficient time to review and think through the implications of a grant. And I understand the idea that we already have a check on it, but sometimes these things come quickly, and as we have seen, they can become political footballs. And what we're trying to do here is just the spirit of this is just to give this body a chance to review. And to your point, I feel like just changing that from shall to may makes it I don't mean this in a bad way, a pretty weak resolution. We don't have to, the grant writer will not have to be shackled by this requirement. I mean, it's a thing that we ask for. We may not consider it, but, show good cause, no issue. I mean, it becomes a pretty weak thing just by changing that one word, my thought.
Commissioner Teachner.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate all the comments that have been said, but we have to reach a point where first of all, I won't be supporting the amendment to May. I think if we're in the process of making weak resolutions, why are we even up here wasting the time of anybody? But then number two, we spoke about this in legislative committee, and that's why we have the committee process. And all these issues that we are dealing with here were addressed very clearly. And the reason behind it is because I believe the county has been held hostage by political theater and emotion for far too long. And so therefore, if we don't do some kind of a safeguard for the people, and it doesn't make the government bigger, it makes us more arms tied. I think it's tying down the beast a little bit more, a whole lot more actually. And if we make a weak knot, I'd rather it be a strong knot. And I want to tie even myself down and bind myself so that the will of the people comes out. And the way we do that is we make a resolution that says, don't waste the taxpayers' money going after fruitless endeavors and grants that take an enormous amount of time, that are far too large for us to read in time to know if it's good or bad. And then the political theater that is constantly at our door of asking for more things or not, we don't have a chance to even look at it with a principled eye and to know if we're actually making the decision for the people or not. We can just say, oh yeah, give us all of it. And if we say no on something like broadband, then all of a sudden I said this in legislative, then all of a sudden they're against broadband. And if we say no, because maybe there's some stipulations that come along with something else, we just had the commentary about, putting solar panels on the courthouse. There was a lot of debate on that. Well, if we said no if we just went ahead and applied for it and we weren't gonna do it anyway, it's wrong and it's misuse, gross misuse of the taxpayers' resources and time, and we're paying people to go after things that are fruitless. And we have to bind the beast, and we have to be strong and stand up for the people instead of against them and oppressing.
Commissioner Brown, is this on the amendment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As Commissioner Teachner brought up, a lot of these grants are multiple pages. And in these grants, we find entanglements with the federal government, where we have to do a report. We may have to set up some kind of an inspection team that will cost us even more than what we get as far as grant money is concerned. And we need time to read these grants to make sure that this kind of stuff is not part of what this county signed up for. We need to make sure that there are no foreign entanglements. Know that with these solar panels, we were very concerned about Chinese involvement. So I think that we do need to look at this stuff, have enough time in order to make sure that we don't do something stupid and cause the taxpayers money or involvement in something that we don't believe is ethically or morally right. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright, is this in regard to the amendment? Pardon? Okay, go ahead.
If we have changed the wording of this from you shall to you may, why does it even matter? Because whenever you change that wording, and the county attorney can reinforce this, hopefully, if you change that wording to you may, it doesn't matter if you do it or not. So if that's the case, why are we even voting on it? Because it doesn't have any teeth to it. So we need to decide, are we going to vote you shall, you may? Because you may, we might as well not even have it on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Commissioner Boyd.
Call the question.
Oh. I went to Commissioner Boyd because Commissioner Wynn had already spoken on this, and that's what we're supposed to do. But Commissioner Boyd called the question. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a request to divide the House? I think the ayes have it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
What committee, did I miss that in there? What committee will this go to? The request to apply for a grant? Will that go to legislative? Will that go to, I don't think that's addressed. The Sumner County Board of Commissioners, it says, the grant writer, prior to the beginning of the grant application process to present.
This would all have to do with budget.
It would all have to go to, it would have to do with budget just to get the approval, or would that be general ops since we're wanting to state if there's a need?
The budget chairman should be notified of grants that.
Yeah, I just want to know the point of order, because a lot of times stuff go to general ops to determine the need per our laws, and then it goes to budget for the funding.
This is a budget matter.
Okay.
Is that the way we understand it in legislative, as the way it left legislative? I mean, it's the financial impact.
Yeah, but this is just to start the process of looking at it. Just pass, there's no financial impact.
Commissioner Teachner, I'm sorry, but the question has been called, and I'm going to ask that we have a division of the House with the situation like we have it. If there's some confusion here, you may want to vote in that way in order to have a review of it. But right now, I'll ask the clerk to place that on the board. You did, you're not asking, did anyone want a division of the house? Okay, all right. Budget. Budget, sure, okay. All right, now the main motion.
We have to vote on the Salme amendment.
That's right, all right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
No.
Okay.
We want teeth.
So I think the noes have it. So we're back on the main division of the house, okay. We're voting. No, on the main.
Each commissioner record your vote.
All right, the noes are 15, the yes, 8. All right, Commissioner Boyd.
I'd like to make an amendment to add to the resolution. I would like to see maybe a monthly report on the status of these grants, because, you know, if we get notified this year and then it's going through the cycle for a year or two, we never get back to it. Some of these grants are, I don't know, a year, 5 years. Could we have monthly, just a status of what grants are out there? I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea what county property we even own. We've been working on that for 18 months. There are a lot of things we don't even have a clue. So if not a monthly report, a quarterly update on what grants are in process. I mean, maybe we have I've been told now that we have grant writers everywhere. Maybe 2 people are working on the same one.
Okay. Well, we would like, I think we would like to know what you're requesting is.
So I would like to add to the resolution some type of tracking element. Perhaps a progress report, quarterly, what grants we're currently seeking.
Progress report quarterly, that's the amendment. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Wynn, is this in regard to that? Commissioner Schmidt?
I just want, following what Commissioner Pomeroy is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think, I use the Bearcat as an example. Did that not go through Health and Emergency Services first and then to budget? Because I'm kind of, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of confusing. It sounded to me, please correct me if I'm wrong, your question was, why wouldn't it go to, let's just use the Bearcat as an example, why would that not go to Health and Emergency first, then to budget to approve the request? Is that, Mr. Chair, I mean, that's...
Is this on the amendment?
Just a moment. I think that the end result will be there at budget. And that's what we're looking at, no matter where it goes. So that's what we ought to do. I feel like that's what we ought to do. Is we have a motion and a second on Commissioner Boyd's. Anyone want to speak to that? Commissioner Wynn? Okay. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. There's no one else in the queue. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Better put that on the board.
This is adding a monthly project progress report.
Quarterly.
Each commissioner record your vote.
12 to 10, and that motion fails with 1 abstention. All right, we're back to the main motion.
I'm in the queue. I've been in the queue for a long time, but it's not flashing.
Pardon?
I'm in the queue on the main motion, just letting you know it's been lit for a long.
Well, go ahead. I see that you are. You were never taken out of the speaker.
I never got to speak. I was
queue.
always on the main.
Yeah.
I call a question for the main.
All right. Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Put it on the board.
Each commissioner record your vote.
That passes 15-7. All right, let's go on with the legislative. That's right, I'm sorry. All right, we'll place that on the board. Call the question. All right, on calling the question, it's a 2/3, so we didn't quite make that threshold. Did you record me? I did punch it, I thought, but mine is a yes, so if it did not, Madam Clerk, did I record as an abstention or as a? All right, well, mine is a yes, so I don't know what happened to the, so it's 16-7, that is passed. All right, go ahead, Mr. Chairman. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. No. I say the ayes have it unless there's a division of the House. All right, place it on the board, the main motion.
Each commissioner record your vote.
And it passes 13-9.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see mine. Would you add me to that vote as a yes?
Yes, okay. Commissioner Bergdorf, a yes. Okay, I'm going to quote my friend Commissioner Pomeroy, who quoted me. I didn't hear one thing in all that discussion that I'd give a quarter for, really, to tell you the truth. Now look, if you have something meaningful to say, we really need to hear it. But I'll bet you, I would bet you that every one of you knew how you were going to vote to begin with. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2310-12 is a resolution requesting permanent funding for SRO and state code, and I so move.
Second. Motion and a second. No one's in the queue. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, passes.
Resolution 2310-13 is a request for Sumner County Legislative Delegation to seek AG opinion on Resource Authority of Sumner County. I so move.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Becker?
Yeah, can someone, I guess, explain, that's loud. Can someone explain a little bit of the background of why this request is being put through? I guess reading the private act itself, chapter 157, to me it's clear, but what is it that's going on that's made this request come to the floor?
I think there are two people in here that might be able to answer that, and that would be the chairman of legislative or Commissioner Boyd, whichever one feels comfortable, or Commissioner Janung, whoever feels comfortable answering that. Commissioner Janung, do you?
Why it's the private act? Oh, sorry. Can I talk?
Sure.
The Resource Authority is an interesting little situation, to say the least. The private act, the reason it came up was there is the issue of tipping fees versus money. The county, and Ms. Boyd also can really speak much better than I can. But the question came into whether if the Resource Authority is part of the county, or is it part of a different, you know, a group of entities, like, because Hendersonville, Gallatin, the county are all part of the fee process. And so the private act was there, you know, I want to say, there was questions about it because of a lot of money change. Ms. Boyd would need to tell you because I'm mixing up my words.
So the question that's come up is there's lots of different issues that come up at the Resource Authority as far as what rules do they follow. Things that have come up is how do we invest? We have about $9 million in surplus and we're investing about $7 million. So I asked them, do we not need to use pool investment banks like the county does? And I was told we're not the county. And I said, okay, you know. And I sought advice from CTASC, and they said, well, you know, ask them, you know, if they don't want to be the county, ask them if they're county, municipal, or a utility company. They need to be something. Let them choose. So I did, and they said they're none of those. And I said, well, we really need to have guardrails around the citizens' money. The reason that we have these rules around investments is to protect our money. Now, we don't get as much interest when we put it in these pools accounts. It's as if you're more retired. It's a safer investment, and the banks cover us with more. We've had other questions that come up regarding other things and what rules do we follow. And I have spoken with everyone that will listen to me. I've even spoken, without mentioning whom, I've spoken to state legislators, and I've said, you know, what rules fall on the Resource Authority? Because they say they are none. And the answer I got back was, well, I've heard stranger things lately. And I said, well, just tell me which lane they're in. And basically, we don't know which lane we're in. We're told, you know, we're instructed that we, the Resource Board, can do anything we want. We are a separate, almost singular business type of unit. We have a lot of power. I have to let you know that act gives that board the power of eminent domain. If 4 of us decide, we could put a landfill in your yard. It's a very powerful board. Now, I have to tell you, none of us have an appetite for anything like that. So we're just trying to ensure, don't want to address any other powers, just what rules apply. That's all we're asking, is for them to tell us what rules apply to this entity. It's a quasi-government type of entity. Also, there are a lot of negotiations that are going to have to go on. The contracts that we have are from 2010. The rates are all wrong, and that's all up now. And we will have to come together with the legislative body of Gallatin and Hendersonville in this body to reform those contracts in a very challenging time for trash. We take our trash to Smith County right now. We have about 6 months of airspace left. They anticipate they're going to get a new cell before we run out of airspace. They've assured me, the state has assured me they will. So it's a very challenging time ahead, and we just need to know what rules that we, the Resource Board, need to follow. And then I want this group to know that we will have to be negotiating with the Gallatin legislative body and the Hendersonville legislative body. If you have any more questions, I'll be glad to talk in front of everyone or separately.
I think short and simply, it's an effort just to find out what is the nature of the beast. And it's an informational kind of thing. No action is requested other than information. Commissioner Mansfield.
I was just going to add to that, Mr. Chairman, to answer the commissioner's question. Also, the county law director sent a letter to the Resource Authority stating they were in violation of the Open Meetings Act. And that was, again, sparking the problem. And they're like, well, no, we're not a public entity. We don't have to obey basically state law when it comes to those types of notifications for citizens, proper notice. And the law director and I think our position is we disagree based on the way the private act's written. Yes, it's a little bit redundant to ask, but it's because you have people who are saying, well, no. We had people in the commission meeting a month or so ago say it was a private entity incorrectly when the statute, and I read the statute from the floor saying that it's a public entity. So unfortunately, we have to be redundant in these things because, I mean, just, I don't know, people don't know how to read or just don't have comprehension or just don't want to, you know, abide by what it says, you know, even though it says something certain. But in this case, I agree, it's a little bit redundant to say, ask for an opinion of something that's very clearly written in the law, but because the law director wrote a letter saying, hey, you have to adhere to this, I'm like, no, we don't, because we're not a public entity like everybody else. I think it's important. That's why this is being asked for clarification on behalf. I mean, this entity is borrowing county money, and we're on the hook, you know, for a majority of that money should the city's default, and we have to pay for it. And so I think it's something good to clarify, but I just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Chairman. So. All right, seeing no one in the queue, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. It's unanimous. Resolution 2310-14, Broadband Ready Communities Program, I so move.
Motion and second by Commissioner, who was that here? Commissioner Pomeroy. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
Resolution 2310-15.
Commissioner Janung should be recorded as a no. Okay, go ahead.
Resolution 2310-15, appoint Steve Nelson as judicial magistrate. I so move.
Second. Motion and a second by Commissioner Pomeroy. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Who's that? Commissioner Harris, okay. All right.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Schoaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 2310-16 is appropriating $120,700 for risk management for insurance premiums. I so move.
The motion and a second, Commissioner Teachner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious, can we find out a little bit more about why this is for insurance premiums for the new courthouse? What's going on with that?
I can answer that.
Well, Commissioner Schoaf can answer it, but we've discovered we don't have insurance on it now since the building has reached a certain point.
That's the answer.
Can I ask why who dropped the insurance?
Who dropped it?
Yeah, what happened on that? Was it just between the?
Well, you have a builder's insurance to a certain point in the construction. And when that builder's insurance, for instance, the fire that was there was handled by the builder's insurance. But when the builder's insurance reaches a certain point in construction, then you have to, and it's near completion, you have to buy your own insurance.
So how long were we without insurance on that new courthouse?
I don't think we were very long, Commissioner Schoaf.
We were not, our understanding was that we were not without insurance, but it is going to expire in short order. So this was discovered, we're correcting it now, we're fine.
Okay, so thank you.
All right. Seeing no one else in the queue, let's see, we had a motion and a second by whom? I want to make sure we have that. Schmidt and
I made the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
2310-17 is approving the Health Department to select Class 1 of the Tennessee Department of Health Standard Operating Procedure for employee raises and salary adjustments. I so move.
Motion and a second by Commissioner Pomeroy. Seeing no one in the queue, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Item number 2310-18, this is appropriating funding for the Sheriff's Department salary adjustments. I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second by Commissioner Mansfield. Commissioner Wright.
Since this will be a conflict of interest for me, it will not be morally or ethically right for me to vote on this, so I will be abstaining from this vote. Thank you.
All right. But he does thank you for his $40,000 increase in salary. Everyone that's watching this, that is not so. Okay.
Well, we hadn't voted on it yet, sir.
Commissioner Wynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad we're finally to this point. I know this has been a long time coming, and it's definitely needed. I do want to just say on the record, I think we are setting a dangerous precedent just by this body setting the pay rates of an elected official's office. I support everything. I think we're moving in the right direction, recognizing that the pay table is not perfect, but we're making steps in the right direction. But I just want to call out that I do think that this is setting a very dangerous precedent, that now the county commission will set pay rates for employees in elected officials' offices. And then I also have a question. The recommended table, it goes up and it tops out at 10-year employees. But a lot of our sheriff's deputies are over the 10-year mark. So the question is, what are the next steps? I know we had some dollars left over. What are those next steps to, I guess, address those step issues? Just in conversations with some sheriff's deputies, deputies between the 10 to 15-year mark are probably some of your most highly likely to go to a different department. After the 15-year mark, it's more likely they'll stay and just retire. So what are our next steps, and when are we going to address that 10 to 15-year mark?
I think I would leave that up to the sheriff to approach us about any kind of problem he has with the salary scale.
All right. And then what are our plans for the remaining, I think it's $190,000?
There are no plans at this point. That's not to say there will be or won't be. There are no plans at this point. We had a committee of people working on that, as you're aware, and they did a very good job of working together. Chief Deputy Craddock, and, Commissioner Boyd, and Mr. Lawing. And I think it came up probably about as good as you could get it, really, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess my last question is that $190,000, is that earmarked for the sheriff's department, or is that just back in the general funds?
I don't think it's earmarked anywhere, to tell you the truth. Okay,
so that's just up for, if we want to use it for some other department, then so be it.
One way or the other, it's not, no.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Becker.
Yes, sir. Actually, something you just said about the sheriff would have to provide input, I believe. I have sort of that general question. If we can suspend the rules, I'd like to hear from the sheriff his opinion on what this resolution is.
Request to suspend the rules. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
The subcommittee submitted it, and I do think it's a good starting place. Like was said earlier, if you're that first 10 years after that, you're not involved in the step raises. And then there was 32 employees that were not included in this because the committee felt they made too much money. And that's the part I didn't agree with.
What were those 32 employees?
Clerical, our maintenance, which is our fleet. We have 2 people that work on 230 cars. Mm-hmm. And then we have 2 people that work on 5 buildings that the county gave to the sheriff.
Okay.
What was the committee's reason not to include the 32 employees?
Just a moment, okay, Commissioner Boyd.
At the time of the committee, I didn't have this information I'm going to convey to you. But the Department of Labor looks at the county as one employer. We must treat them all the same. What we need in this county is job descriptions. We look specifically, the employees that the sheriff is talking about are non-core employees. We have clericals spread out throughout the county. We have maintenance and mechanics. What we need is to, because we are one employer as far as the Department of Labor, and we have to treat them all equally, we need to have job descriptions so we can distinguish between these job descriptions. At the time that we reviewed them, if we compared a clerical in the sheriff's office, we would compare them to other clericals in the county, and we found them to be above market in comparison. Now, if we could make a distinction by having a job description, then that would be fine, but otherwise, we're not treating them equally. Does that answer your question?
It does to an extent. It's my understanding that the highway department's given salary increases for their mechanics, but the sheriff's not, we're not. I think to your point, are we creating an imbalance by the highway department mechanics
Yes.
getting a salary increase, but the sheriff office mechanics are not?
It was, and I don't know anything about the highway
It was in a
department.
recent budget
But we
transfer.
need to address this countywide. This is new information, and it was based on, from what I understand, case law. I don't know. I was going to speak to the lawyer about this upcoming week, that we need to address it countywide and see how it affects us.
Has some comparisons here. If you want to get an idea of where the differences are, the discrepancies are.
Yeah, that'd be great.
What we looked at was various counties, and when we compared the groups, by and large, the sheriff's department groups. Come on.
There you go. Oh, now it's off now. There you go.
Is it on there now? Okay. By and large, when we compared the sheriff's department, their salaries were below the market. A couple of them were not. For instance, maintenance, which was discussed, but there was only one other county that actually had maintenance employees listed on their salary survey. When we compared the sheriff's department to those maintenance and the ones within the county, they were actually paid significantly higher. The other one that was hard to find comparisons in some instances was the mechanics, and we compared those mechanics throughout the county. And I'm not sure where the ideal that the highway department's mechanics make more is absolutely the opposite. For instance, the mechanics in the sheriff's department make around $62,000 plus they receive hazard pay. The EMS mechanic makes a little over 40, and the ones in the highway department run from 47 to 55. So they're actually paid higher. They're not paid lower.
Okay, well, I know, so there was I think it was this last meeting, budget meeting about, well, not tonight, but the highway, there was about $51,000 transferred from a truck driver or something to the mechanics.
He was classified as a truck driver, and they moved him to a mechanic, and he's the 50-some thousand.
Okay, so that's, okay.
There wasn't a raise for him.
Okay, so that's one person adjusted, not, okay, I got you,
Right.
Sorry for that.
And as they're saying, the data is not 100%, and one that was mentioned in that budget was the non-certified court officers, because it was our understanding they were going to be phased out, and they may need to be revisited. The reasoning for the 10 years was twofold. One was the cost, and several that we compared to, they're actually scales that we compared them to. One went to 10, a couple of them went to 10 years, some went to 12 years, and some went to 14s. They do not stretch out in any counties 20, except for Rutherford, 20 years, and nobody stretches out beyond that. So they're not a step that continues on indefinitely. So that's kind of a misnomer. None of the scales do that.
Commissioner.
Thank you for that.
Commissioner Teacher.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So if that's a pretty large difference. I had to say, I move that we get job descriptions for any job that's not got one, and just because it just feels like that we need to have a uniformity throughout the county, because if somebody's, if we are one employer and if we're against Department of Labor standards, I don't want to be at a lawsuit. So we can't do anything about the past, but moving forward, we've got to figure out how that we can keep it, correct and not pay one person. I don't know why one person would be paid more than the other if they're doing the same job.
I'd like to request that rather than making a motion to this effect, that you request the legislative to review this, because they would need to talk with the law office also, because county government is an unusual animal. You may have a secretary in one department making more than a secretary in another department, and that is up to the constitutional officer. So I'd like to see Commissioner Mansfield working with the attorneys and just bring this before what you have before them, and let's just take it from there.
Exactly, and sir, if I could just add to that, I'd like to just kind of know the reason for discrepancies and job descriptions, just because that would help us moving forward as an entire county to stay on the same track. So thank you, sir.
All right, Commissioner Schmidt.
So I guess I was kind of on an island by myself that night, because I made a motion to carry this additional money with the sheriff's salary to go with it. I just felt that Sheriff Weatherford's intention was to reward what I call the behind-the-scenes people that you don't always see, like your mechanics and your clerical. And I just trusted that he was going to take that money and appropriate where he saw fit. I didn't see it trying to compare this department to that department, because he was focusing on his department and maybe rewarding loyalty. So just in truth and transparency, I did contact Sheriff Weatherford. We talked the next day about it. He said and I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but from what I understood it, he was going to bring some specifics to the Budget Committee in November, just to kind of outline what his intentions are. And, I'd be willing to support him at that time, just as long as he, because I think there's other Budget Committee members that just want a little more specifics on it. But it's just my belief that he should be able to reward those, I think he said 32 employees, how he sees fit, given that he's been very, I won't use the word cooperative, but, very, cooperative with the subcommittee, with the work they've done. I think, it all came together, and I think the fair thing to do is let the sheriff decide what he wants to do with that remaining money amongst his remaining employees.
What's your point? That's a good point, and we really aren't. We need to bring this up probably at another time, maybe go through budget with that kind of suggestion.
I just want to make sure I was reading that right, or if I was the one that was missing out. I didn't know where we were in the process.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Brown?
Question.
All right, question's been called, and a second by whom? Commissioner Mansfield? All right, if you'll put that on the board and save us a lot of time, probably.
Each commissioner record your vote.
This is called question. All right, the yeses have it, and we will go to the main motion now. And keep in mind that any of these suggestions that you have, you can still send some suggestions back through committee. It's always open to you, and this is probably not the best time to try to fix a problem. All right, Madam Clerk, if you'll put that on the board.
Each commissioner record your vote.
And that's 22 votes and 1 abstention, unless someone had a vote that they intended to record another way.
Mr. Chairman, moving on 2310-19, appropriating $45,000 for a TESOL grant for drug court. I so move.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
2310-20, appropriating $30,000 for,
Motion by Commissioner Pomeroy, second by Commissioner Harris.
see how
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you, Commissioner Pomeroy.
2310-21, appropriating $49,414, for the city of Millersville for special, election. I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. For the clerk's sake, who made the motion? Did you?
Shove, and I second it.
Motion by Commissioner
I beat him.
Mansfield, second by Commissioner Stroh. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
2310-22, approving Meraki multi-lease license agreement for IT. Second.
All right, motion and a second. Did you get the, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
2310-23, appropriating $51,148. Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Pomeroy, second by Commissioner Becker. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. And because we had one commissioner, Mr. Teacher, who wanted to keep us here a little bit longer, I would like to make a motion for discussion for docketing of Board of Education year-end encumbrances. Motion.
Second motion and second.
He has to have it, did you?
Commissioner Teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was hoping Dr. Langford would be here, but I'll just point it to you and you can point me in the right direction. So reading through and seeing the encumbrances that are on page, if y'all want to turn with me to page, it's right here at the very, okay, there's 62, 60, and then it would be 63, 64, 65. 65 is unnumbered. 66 and 67 are those three encumbrances. So if y'all want to turn to me. My question is, and seeing these encumbrances and trying to understand the school board, how the school board allowed our facilities to reach such an unsafe state of disrepair, all while the facility maintenance was all funded. But not performed. So there was maintenance funded each year by the budget, but there was no maintenance that was performed on these bleachers. And I would like to see a full list in the same detail of these expenditures. I'd like the same detail level of this report. Just would go back, just for starters, just go back to January 1st of 2023. I don't know exactly where to direct that, but I think that would help us so much to understand where everything went wrong with these bleachers, and that way we can support these citizens to where we can see, because if we got things like, if you look on here, CEO furniture for $40,208.48 to one CBI LLC. I don't know what that's for, but that's just an example. We got a scoreboard on here for $360,000. And then we've got bleachers in disrepair. And then, we go to even little things like the septic pumping for $3,300. We still don't have the sewer finished. And I don't know what that means. I just like to know when TriStar Septic Pumping LLC had this encumbrance where this check was written to them, 6/19/2023, I would like to know a detailed list, because I'd like a little more explanation to know why that these, like how long this was for. Was this for one day? Is it for a week? Is it for a month? Is it for a quarter? And how long do we plan on continuing? Because I know that I'm only discussing it, but I think that's a big start as a commission. If we can start discussing it openly, then we'll never get to the point where our citizens' lives are literally put at risk when they attend a football game at Beach. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to make a suggestion. Of course, this is something the lawyer just said to me and that I already know, is that it's a purse strings issue that we don't have any control over. I know you're asking for information, and that's okay. But I must suggest that to the attorney that he get with you and determine what it all of the facts that you want, and then pursue that and see if they will answer your question.
Can I make a suggestion? What I'm after, I think would go a long way for the citizens. And this is what people have asked me to ask. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe that if we could just have our education committee, it's literally education committee, if they could just work with, because we can't control the purse strings. I wouldn't even want to try because that's not lawful. And so I think that the discussion, making it very noticed that we're not trying to control the purse strings with the budget committee. If we just go and if Chairman Brown could work with our director of schools
I
and just
agree.
look through that. So.
That would be fine, to start with Commissioner Brown and his committee answering those questions.
Motion to adjourn.
To docket this. Motion to docket.
Second.
Aye, okay, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Motion to
Opposed,
adjourn.
like sign.
Second.
All right.